Oh, hey everyone, you feeling good? All right, there's like 20 of you. That's awesome. You feeling good this morning? Good, awesome. Oh man, that's great. Well, I want to first, again, if you're here for the first time, we're so glad you're here. Let's give another huge hand for all our first-time guests. We're in this series called Blame It on the Burbs. What this is basically making sure that our calling is not killed by our culture. That God has called each and every one of us. You are called. I'm called. It's not just a pastor, and it's not just a couple of really good Christians. Every single person is called. Everybody has a high calling. If you're here for the first time and you got bribed in here because somebody gave you some cookies and you came in and you're just like, I'm coming to church. You have a calling on your life too. As you munch on that chocolate chip, God has a calling on your life. Every single person in this room has a dream and a calling and a purpose that God has purposed inside of them. And our problems are not that I think, not that God hasn't called us. Our problem is that we don't realize that we're called. Our problems are that we don't realize that we have a high calling in our life. And so I want to remind us a little bit of calling killers. And we just read that scripture about Moses, and I wanted to point out that Moses was actually doing something that he felt like was right, but he just did it at the wrong time. He was trying to help his fellow Hebrews. He was trying to help Israelites, but he just did it at the wrong time. I don't know if you've ever done things that seemed right, but you just did them at the wrong time. I don't know if you've ever run into wrong timing, but timing can be everything in your life. I don't know if maybe God put something on the inside of your heart, but you just kind of ran ahead of him and got caught up in something that really he didn't plan for you to get caught up into, because you kind of fought against his timing. Because the problem is, a lot of us don't like to wait. That's why no one said amen at that moment. Because no one likes to wait. Hey, show me somebody who likes to wait. I'll show you a liar. Because we live in a culture that it's like, give it to me now, give it to me now, give it to me now. Right? And if I don't get it on time or faster, something's wrong. My son, he is growing up in this. I'm trying to break him of this, but the moment he gets up from bed, he is already Why? Because he's like, if I don't get some food in my mouth right now, somebody's getting slapped. And I'm trying to teach him a little bit about, like, just, hey, it's okay, it's coming, right? You know what I'm talking about? We never graduated from this. We want it right now. And I'll tell you, wanting it right now is a calling killer. Moses, you were right, you were just wrong time. Moses, you were the deliverer of the Israelites, but this was wrong time for you to do this. Wrong timing. And also, when you do things in your wrong time, you do things in your own strength. When you do things in the wrong timing, you do things in your own strength. Moses tried to do this in his own strength. I'll just kill this guy, bury him, and it'll be fine. And no, it's not fine. It actually caused you to run away from the place that you were called to. But we don't like to wait. We are not accustomed to waiting. See, some of you don't understand what that back in the day, for some of us who are a little more along in our years, we used to take pictures and you didn't get to see them right away. You had to get them developed. No one knows about this. Everybody, you think that you take 15 pictures and you get to look at it and, oh, my face was wrong and this, and I didn't really next time I'm just going to go like this, and then I'm just take it. Could you take like 40 of them, and then I'll just pick the best one? No one did that. We didn't spend 30 minutes taking pictures back in the day. You took 4 clicks and you're like, hopefully one of those is out. And then when they got developed, then you saw everybody who was making all those dumb faces, and you got mad at them for ruining all those pictures. That's how you really took a family photo. See, no one knows that anymore, because, like, in our culture, we hate to wait. Like we hate to wait for a lot of different things. See, some of you guys don't know this. Some of you who are older, you will know this sound when you called somebody and then you heard this. Deet, See, my niece, 14 years old, she's looking at me right now. She's like, I have no idea what that is. That's called busy signal. That's what it is, girl. It's a busy signal. Back in the day, there was only one line, and when you had somebody on the phone, it was like, what? Why are they still talking? And you keep calling. If you had a rotary phone where you had to go, it was the worst because you had to keep calling somebody and calling. You never was no redial. There was no, and you just had to wait and wait and wait. There's another thing. You remember this back in the day? Remember when you had to get on the internet and it was actually a thing you had to like set up, and you had to dial up, and it's and like you're just like, and you were just like, it was like you were setting up your own NASA right in your house as you were trying to get on the World Wide Web and to get all. See, we don't like to wait. We don't like it. And if we have to, something's wrong. But I'm telling you, in God's economy and in God's plan, waiting is actually wonderful in some places. There is power in patience. There's power in patience. And I know that a lot of us don't like to hear this, but there's some things that you don't want to speed up. There's some things you don't, listen, you don't get a good steak by microwaving it. I mean, come on. If you microwave your steak right now, shame on you. God will forgive you, but after a while, because that's terrible. I mean, if you're microwaving a steak right now, I want you to talk. Where's Josh? Where's Josh? There's our resident chef. Where is he? Josh, where? Josh is right in the back with the purple tie. Talk to him. He's a chef. He will tell you how to cook a steak. Dear God in heaven, let's save all the steaks. Our church is on mission to save a steak. Microwave your steaks. Now there's things that you don't want to. I'm making a joke, but you don't want a baby to come at 4 months, right? You don't want that. You gotta wait. There are some things in your life that patience is powerful. So some of you have invited somebody to church and they've said no. They've said, I don't want to go to church. I don't want, that's for you, you're churchy, that's great. You found your people, but I don't want that. And so you've given up. But can I tell you the most powerful invitation is not the first one, it's the 19th one. It's the one where you just, and I'm not saying being annoying and being like, coming to church today, coming to church today, coming to church today, coming to church. Stop. Like, no one's coming to church like that. But I'm saying, just think of different ways. Pray. Ask God, give me different ways I can invite that, because I just don't want to leave them. I just don't want to push them aside. I want to let them know that I'm caring for them, that I'm here. And you never know the moment that they're going to say, yep, I'm coming. Yep, I'm coming. Tomorrow I'm coming with you. Patience is powerful. There are things, some of you who have been parenting with your kids, you've been fighting that fight, don't give up. Some of you who have been in your job and you just been working through stuff, don't give up. There is power in patience. Don't let your calling, don't let the dream that God has over your life be ruined because you have to hit fast forward on single thing. See, if you're anything like me, I don't like to wait either. And so I want things to happen now, or I'm changing stuff because I want it to happen now. But maybe I don't need to change things, and maybe I don't need to get all worked up and get my emotions all in a whirlwind because something's not happening right away. Maybe I just need to have patience in the calling that God has on my life and say, God, I am waiting right here. And those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength, and they will rise up like wings like eagles. They will walk and not faint. See, this is something that is important for us. You got to sit and sometimes God, I'm waiting. I'm right here, and we don't want to cut corners. And so we're waiting, and I wish more of us would wait instead of worry. But because we have to wait, a lot of us do worry. And I'm saying maybe it's just, this is the time where we're just saying, God, maybe it's not right now. And I'm okay. I'm right here. Patience is powerful. And some of you are like, well, no, it's my time. I got to get out there. I got to be the boss. I'm the one who's got to teach everything. I'm the one I can't believe they've been missing me for so long, and they haven't called me back for this interview, and it's my time. And I just want to let you know that I think that's an unhealthy thing to have. And so instead of that, I would say, instead of saying it's my time, I would say it just takes time. Instead of it's my time, oh, it's my time, it just takes time. It just takes time. But Moses didn't let that happen. He ran, and because of that, he ran from the thing he was called in. And look at this. This is Exodus chapter 2, verse 21. Moses accepted the invitation, and he settled there with him. See, what happened was there, as Moses went out to the desert, there was a bunch of girls that were getting water, and then the shepherds were like, hey girls, get out of here, this is for the sheep. And Moses was like, oh, no, and like he pushed all the guys. I don't know what he did, but hopefully he didn't wag his finger, because it's not very masculine. And he got there and he chased the shepherds away, and all the girls were like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. And he got the water for them, and then they're like, come back and meet our father. And then he met their father, and the dad's like, this is awesome. He's going to marry one of my daughters, because out in the desert, you got to take what you get. And, so some of you can't get a date, go to the desert. You'll find somebody. That's not mean, that's just funny, come on. So he settled with them, accepted the invitation. In time, Ruel gave Moses his daughter Zipporah to be his wife, and later she gave birth to a son, and Moses named him Gershom, for he explained, I have been a foreigner in a foreign land. And right now, Moses has run from the calling that God has had because of his past. He murdered somebody, so he's running. Now he's in the desert. And I really believe this is the second kind of calling killer. You let your past define your future. You let your past, you start saying, because of my past, I have no future. Moses was starting to let this kind of be his mantra because of notice what he named his son. He even named his son about him being a foreigner in a foreign land. He had now had identified his whole family with his mistake in the past as now this is now my future, and had run from what God had really been putting in his heart so long ago. And what you run from will always rule you. What you run from will always rule you. There are some things that you don't run from, you've got to face. There are some things that you have to fight. There are some things that you got to stand up and say, this is not going to take over my life. Some of you are fighting some depression in your life. And I'm telling you right now, get the help you need. Talk to any doctor that you need. There are people that are willing and wanting to help you, but fight that thing. Don't let that thing take over your life. There are some things in life where you have to stand up and you have to fight, because whatever you run from will rule you. There are some things in your life that you don't want to have rule you. And they'll start working in your life in such a way that will start killing the calling of God on your life. Moses ran from Egypt. Remember a moment in my life, I was younger, and I was in ministry, and I had hair, and it was awesome. And it was early on in church. I was a pastor on staff at a church. And I didn't know at that moment I was working at a church that had a lot of major dysfunction. So much so that it would crater the church later. But I didn't know that at the time. I had a big staff and different pastors and stuff. And I remember having a conversation with another staff pastor who I looked up to. And I remember him looking at me and saying, you'll never be a pastor. Not the way you look now. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, you can't be that fat and be a pastor. And then he started to go on and on about different things that I had done wrong. And all of these felt like just sharp knives going into my soul. You know, and I'm not saying that you want to be, of course, you want to be healthy and all that, and Lord, deliver me from the donuts because I love them too much. And, you know, I get that, and it's all great and good. But when somebody starts attaching your appearance to the call of God on your life, that is the most evil thing. And it's not just about appearance. Some of you, people have tried to attach your past to the call of God on your life. That's evil too. And things that have been, like where things that you have messed up before in your life and they've attached, but you can't run from those. You got to face them. So there's a moment where I had to just, like, I was either going to believe these lies and say, well, you know, I can't do that, I guess, because he told me. Or I could do what David did, and I remember this so vividly, where the Bible says that at one point where David was so down, there's a lot of fights that David won, but there was some battles that he lost too. And it's interesting to see how he responded to battles that he lost. And one of these scriptures I love so much, it says that David encouraged himself in the Lord. And there are some moments where you just need to encourage yourself in the Lord, where there are other people that might not say all the right things to you. There are other people in your life that might not give you the right words at the right time. There are some people that might actually say the wrong words at the right time. There are some people in your life that might be so messed up, they will start trying to kill the calling in your life. And it's in those moments that you need to stand up and you need to encourage yourself in the Lord. And you need to understand that God made you for a reason, on purpose, for a purpose. That God, and I started encouraging myself in this, and I started feeling the presence of God fill my heart and fill my life. I started to feel the presence of God fill my heart in such a way that it started to encourage me. It started to encourage all the different things that I had in my life that I needed so desperately. And I felt like God in that moment started lifting me up when I couldn't do it myself. I started encouraging myself in the Lord. And I started feeling like God said, I made you, Ben. You're good. And I'll help you get better. You just trust in me. Okay. And nobody can ever tell me different. You know what? And I need that. Because just like pastoring is just like life, just so you know. Being a pastor is just like every other job in the sense of it's hard, just like every other job is hard. All right, you know what I'm talking about? Some of you are like not believing me. Christians can be weird too, just so you know. And they can say really weird things and dumb things sometimes. And so, like, just like every other job, you know, there's some moments that are really hard. And those moments, you just got to encourage yourself in the Lord. Just like every other job that you have. There are moments where you're working with some people that just, like, they've went crazy, off the wall. What are they talking about? In those moments when your boss is just ripping you and you're like, this is not my fault. I don't know what they're drinking, but this is not. I mean, those moments where you got to really encourage yourself in the Lord, when you're not getting encouragement from anybody else. This is where it really comes down to a relationship with God. You got to have a relationship with God, just not a cultural Christian kind of thing. Like, you have to have a real relationship with God. Otherwise, your calling starts dying, because whatever you run from will rule you. Some of you got hurt in church, and you've run from being a leader in church because you got hurt at church. And that hurt has now ruled you. You got to face it. Don't run from it. God's got a plan and a purpose for your life. And it's bigger than just getting a paycheck Monday through Friday. So jump back in. I'm not saying our church is perfect. Lord, have mercy, it's not perfect. Just listen to a couple of my sermons. You'll be like, oh, cool. He's like me. He messes up all the time. It's not perfect. But that's what makes it awesome. A bunch of really imperfect people serving a very perfect God. Like, that's what makes it great. Not a bunch of people coming in here saying, hey, look at me. Just so you know, I killed it this week. I mean, I was almost as good as Jesus. So if you want to worship me, I'll allow it. You know how sometimes it gets a little too like about you and your goodness and all that. No. It's really about your surrender and your brokenness and your openness to the Lord and the Spirit of God. And those moments, you just got to jump all in. Let me say one more thing about that hurt. For some of you who've gotten hurt in a church before, keeping away from serving and being in the life of a church, you might not get hurt again because you do that. But I can guarantee you, you'll never get healed either. It'll stay hurt. So if you want, you might not get hurt again. You could pull away, but if you want healing, you got to face that thing. You can't run from it. Because whatever you run from, it will rule you. Then there's this last part where God is pulling Moses. He's really working on him. And it's in chapter 4. We'll speed up a little bit. Chapter 4, verse 1 says, but Moses protested again. What if they won't believe me? See, God has called him. But now Moses is like fighting this. He's like, what if they don't believe me or listen to me? What if they say the Lord never appeared to you? And then the Lord asked him, what is that in your hand? A shepherd's staff, Moses replied. And as I was thinking through these two verses, I was thinking through all of us. So many times deal. I don't know if and I won't even put you in there. This is just me, and I'll just talk about me, and treat this like this is my own personal psychologist time, and I'll just lay on the couch, and you guys can just hear me, and it's just a group time. But there's moments where I feel not enough. There's moments where I don't feel like I can be the father I'm supposed to be. I don't feel like I can be the husband I'm supposed to be. I don't feel like I can be the pastor that I'm supposed to be. I don't feel like I can be the son I'm supposed to be. You know, I just feel these insecurities and inadequacy that starts trying to whisper to me that I think is one of the most impervious calling killers if you let this one live. And it's this statement that I don't have what it takes. I don't have what it takes. And past your, like guys come, they're like, I don't deal with that. I'm awesome. I'm awesome all the time. I'm awesome when I sleep. I'm double awesome when I sleep. Some people just have, they mask their inadequacy with bravado. But deep down, I do think there's a lot of us that deal with the thought of, I don't know if I have what it takes. And Moses was in this camp. He had run from his calling for so long, and he'd let it rule over him. And because of his mistiming of where God had called him to be, now he's in this place. And now I wonder, as God says, look in your hand, what do you have? And he says, a shepherd's staff. I wonder when he said a shepherd's staff, I wonder if he looked at that and said, yeah, now I'm a shepherd. I used to be a prince, but now I just take care of sheep. I used to be in Egypt, but now I'm so far from Egypt. I'm on the backside of a desert in this mountain that I don't even know, and I think I'm probably even talking to myself and hallucinating because this bush is burning, but it's not burning up, so I don't know what I drank, but I must have drank something different because now I'm talking to myself and I'm talking to this thing. And so he's probably freaking out at this moment, and all the while looking in his hand thinking that I shouldn't be here, I am not. And now he starts talking back to God. God, you got the wrong person. You're talking to the wrong man. I have a shepherd's staff in my hand. It's not a sword. I'm no prince. I used to be that, but I'm not that anymore. I wonder if he's going through his mind the mistakes that he's made and how far he is away from Egypt, where God would want him to be. And I wonder if he looks at the shepherd's staff and thinks, yeah, that's about right. That's about the level that I have in my life, and brings his calling to a halt because of what he has in his hand. But all the while, God is looking at what he has in his hand too. And God knows, Moses doesn't know this, but God knows the same thing that he probably is looking at and saying, well, I just have a shepherd's staff. God is looking at it and said, yeah, but I'm going to take that shepherd's staff and I'm going to use it to split the Red Sea in half. See, I said that, and you treated that like I just said a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Split a sea in half, people. Like, okay, you think that's so easy? Go home, fill up your sink with water, and try to split it in half. Let's do it. Come on. Like, you know, like I'm just saying a sink. I'm not even saying a big sink. A Red Sea split in half. This is not a children's story. We're not talking about the Wizard of Oz. This happened. God split a sea in half with a shepherd's staff. The thing that Moses said was holding him back, God says, I'm going to use it to move you forward. The thing that was a lid over Moses' life, God says, no, this thing is going to be a monument for everyone to talk about from here to eternity. People are going to talk about you putting up your staff in your hand and the sea parting. Not because you're so good, but because I'm so good. So I was thinking about this. I thought about this one statement that's been going, just bumping around in my heart all week. Couldn't wait to share it with you. Hopefully it helps you like it's been helping me. And if not, that's okay, because it was good for me. So I'm good. But I thought like God just spoke to my heart when I was reading through this. And he said, Ben, it's okay that you don't have what it takes, because I'll take what you have. It's okay that you don't feel like you have what it takes, because God's going to take what you have. It's okay. I want you to think through every inadequacy in your life. I can't talk right. I don't know the Bible enough. You don't know my past. You don't know the things that I've thought when no one's looking and no one's around. You don't know the anger issues I deal with. You don't know the things that I've done wrong as a parent. You don't know the things I've done wrong as a husband or as a wife. You don't know the things that I've done wrong in church. You don't know the things I've done wrong outside of church. You don't know the things I've done wrong in my family. You don't know the family I've come from. You don't know my educational background, or you don't know my demographic, or you don't know what kind of race I'm from, or creed, or whatever. I just want to let you know it doesn't matter how many things you think you are inadequate with. God, it doesn't matter that you can't say, just because you say, I don't think I have what it takes. God says, that's okay. I'll take what you have. I'll take what you got. I'll take all your inadequacies and I'll make them more than adequate. I'll take you on the backside of a desert. It's not about ability, it's about availability. All you got to do is show up. All you've got to do is be in the room. All you got to do is be around him. All you got to do is open up your life to his presence. All you've got to do is say, God, I want you and nothing else. God, I need you and nothing else. All you've got to do is be open to him. And in that moment, he just does everything you could. In a moment. It's okay you don't feel like you have what it takes. God will take what you have. I barely can believe in him. He'll take what you have. I don't know if I could ever tithe. He'll take what you have. I don't know if I could ever serve. He'll take what you have. See, you don't have to come to God with it all figured out. You just have to come to Him.